Nkiru and the water goddess. In the lush lands of a remote village called Umuachi, nestled between rolling hills and vast forests, there flowed a river of crystal clear water. The river, known as Omi Aje, was the lifeblood of the village. It provided water for drinking, farming, and fishing, and the villagers believed it was blessed by the powerful water goddess, Aje. The people of Umuashi revered the goddess, offering her prayers and sacrifices to ensure her favor and protection. But as time passed, the villagers began to take the blessings of the river for granted. They became careless and disrespectful, polluting the waters with waste and neglecting the rituals that had been passed down through generations. They stopped making the sacrifices that were once offered with reverence and devotion, believing they no longer needed to appease the goddess. The headers of the village warned the people of the consequences, but their words fell on deaf ears. The younger generation, who had never known hardship, dismissed the warnings as mere superstition. They continued to disrespect the river, confident that nothing would happen. One fateful day, the skies darkened and a violent storm swept through Umuashi. The river, Omi Aje, once calm and serene, began to rage. The waters rose rapidly, flooding the fields and washing away the crops. The fish that had once been abundant in the river disappeared, and the water became murky and undrinkable. The village was thrown into chaos as the people realized that they had angered the water goddess. The herders gathered in the village square, their faces edged with worry and fear. They knew that the goddess Ajay was punishing them for their disrespect, and that unless they find a way to appease her, the village would continue to suffer. The crops were failing, the livestock were dying, and the once thriving village was on the brink of collapse. In the midst of this turmoil, there lived a young woman named Nkiru. Nkiru was known for her kindness, wisdom, and deep connection to the natural world. She was a special child, as her parents had long prayed to the goddess Ajay for a child, and their prayers were answered with Nkiru's birth. The villagers believed that Nkiru was a gift from the goddess herself, and her life was intertwined with the river from the very beginning. She had grown up by the river, listening to the stories of the goddess Ajay from her grandmother, who had been a revered priestess. Nkiru understood the importance of the river and the need to honor the goddess, and she felt a deep sorrow for the way her people had strayed. One night, as the storm continued to rage, Nkiru had a dream. In her dream, the goddess Ajay appeared to her, her face stern and unforgiving. "Your people have forgotten me. They disrespected my gifts. They must suffer the consequence of their actions." Nkiru fell on her knees in the dream, pleading with the goddess. "Please, goddess, Ajay, forgive my people. They were foolish and careless, but they did not mean to anger you. Please show them mercy." The goddess looked at Nkiru with a gaze that was both fierce and compassionate. "There is only one way to restore balance and peace to your village," she said. "A life must be given in exchange for the forgiveness of your people. The one who offers their life must be pure of heart and willing to make the ultimate sacrifice." When Nkiru awoke, she knew what she had to do. She could not allow her village to suffer any longer. She had been raised with the understanding that the good of the many outweighed the good of the one, and she knew in her heart that she was the one the goddess had chosen. The next morning, Nkiru went to the herders and told them of her dream. The herders were devastated by her decision, for they loved Nkiru as their own daughter. But they also knew that the goddess' wrath could only be appeased by such a sacrifice. With a heavy heart, the entire village gathered at the banks of the river Omi Aje. The storm had calmed, but the waters were still high and turbulent, a reminder of the goddess' anger. Nkiru stood at the edge of the river, dressed in a white cloth, her face serene and resolute. The villagers, young and old, knelt down and prayed, asking for the goddess' forgiveness and for Nkiru's safety. Tears streamed down their faces as they realized the depth of the sacrifice Nkiru was about to make. The herders began the ancient ritual, chanting prayers that had not been spoken in many years, calling upon the goddess to hear their plea. Nkiru stepped forward, feeling the cold water lap at her feet. She closed her eyes and whispered a final prayer to the goddess, asking for her people to be spared and for peace to return to Umuachi. With a deep breath, she walked into the river, the water swirling around her as she waded deeper and deeper. As Nkiru reached the center of the river, the water began to glow with an ethereal light. The villagers watched in awe as the light grew brighter, enveloping Nkiru in a radiant aura. The river, which had been wild and untamed, suddenly became calm and still. In that moment, the goddess Aje appeared before Nkiru, her form shimmering like the water itself. She reached out and gently touched Nkiru's forehead. "You have shown great courage and selflessness, Nkiru," the goddess said, her voice softening. "Your sacrifice has been accepted. Your people will be forgiven, and peace will return to your village. Umuachi will experience abundance again." With those words, the light around Nkiru intensified, and she felt herself being lifted by the water, cradled in the goddess' embrace. The villagers watched in silence as Nkiru's form slowly dissolved into the light, becoming one with the river. The light faded, and the river returned to its natural state, calm and clear once more. The villagers, overwhelmed with gratitude and sorrow, bowed their heads in respect and began to offer prayers of thanks to the goddess. The crops began to grow again, the fish returned to the water, and the land of Umuachi was once again blessed with abundance. From that day on, Nkiru was remembered as a hero, a symbol of selflessness and love for her people. The shrine was built at the spot where she had entered the river, and every year the villagers would gather to honor her memory and give thanks to the goddess Aje for her mercy. Nkiru's story was passed down through the generations, a tale of sacrifice and redemption that reminded the people of Umuachi of the importance of respecting the natural world and the spirits that governed it. The village thrived, and the bond between the people and the river grew stronger as they never forgot the lesson that Nkiru had taught them. And so, Nkiru's legacy lived on, a name spoken with reverence and love, a beacon of hope and courage for all who heard her story.